are. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 30 of the MVRed podcast. And joining you tonight, this is going to get ultra corny. Dang, you're going to love this. I think 30 plus year olds are right around. Nick, I think you're right around 30, right?
I am 30, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I just turned 32. And Dane, what are you?
I prefer not to say. I'm 32.
I think Dane and I are around the same age, but nonetheless, we're thrilled this evening to be joined by the Republican candidate for the 64th district in Southern Trumbull County, Nick Santucci. So thank you, Nick, so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you both. It's good to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here. So I think before we get started and kind of learning a little bit about you, I just want to share about the 64th district, because I believe it was last week, the state, with the legislation that was passed a few years ago, there was a requirement that the new state House and state Senate maps had to be passed by, I believe, September 15th. Now, I don't know if it actually happened September 15th or the day after, but there are new maps that were drawn that you probably have, if you follow politics, have seen, talked about, and there is a new map in the 64th district. So it consists of, and Nick, you could correct me if I'm missing anything here, Warren City, Howland, Vienna, Weathersfield, Niles, Mineral Ridge, Girard, Liberty, and Hubbard. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to get into that, but so that's primarily southern portions of Trumbull County. But it had been drawn prior to that, the last 10 years. I think it included a little bit more of, did it include like Brookfield and Fowler and up that way as well?
Yeah, up into Ashtabula, into Andover and Orwell, West Farmington, and that whole community. So the way I used to describe the district was Howland, Warren, Champion, and then kind of north. It went up that way. And if you took Trumbull County and you divided it kind of in half, Representative Mike Loychek got southeastern Trumbull County, and I kind of said that I got northwestern Trumbull County. And so now, of course, to your point, Michael, that has changed, and we're now moved around a little bit, but we're still guns a-blazing, pedal to the metal.
Excellent.
So, question.
Go ahead, Dane.
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you. Thank you for joining Mr. Santucci, as the Italians would say, or Stan Tucci.
You're adding a T, I think, after the S.
Am I Santucci?
Santucci, but you're close, Dan. You're doing great, man. You're doing great.
I'm taking beginner Italian lessons so I can order.
You're doing just fine.
Pasta and that. But so the upcoming election, it's obviously 2021 right now. It's 2022 is the election itself. And just so everybody is clear, will the House districts under review today, whatever the map is that going to be the districts for the 2022 election?
So you're asking if the maps that you guys we talked about a little bit earlier, those are today's map? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah. Are they, or like it basically the district as it stands today won't necessarily be the district you're running for in 2022, to put it another way?
No, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is.
So the map that was shown that we talked about a little earlier is the district as it stands today. Now, that district could go back to the Supreme Court, or the map could go to the Supreme Court. Yep,
I'm going to share it for everybody.
So the communities that Michael read when we first started, those are the communities that our campaign, my campaign, is targeting, and we're focused on serving in 2022. The 64th district there, so you can see 65 is Representative Mike Loychek. Okay. He has a lot of territory there. I'm more centralized. But yes, as of today, as of right now, that is the map. Now, the Supreme Court, there could be some court rulings that question this map, and the Supreme Court will ultimately have to decide if this is the map that's finalized and used. If they decide that it's not constitutional, they can kick it back, that it could get redrawn, and we could move forward. So to your point, Dane, the dust has not settled on this map quite yet, but as of today, these are our marching orders. This is where we're focusing our campaign on. These are the folks I plan to serve in the 64th district for our community in Trumbull County, and the this is where we are.
Okay. I belabor that point, Nick, and it's not to beat a dead horse, but I think a lot of people don't realize that every 10 years we have a census, and as a result, it's not only our U.S. federal representative districts get redrawn, on the state level, our state reps and state senators, those maps get redrawn. So
Exactly.
I encourage everybody watching this, if you think you know who your state senator or representative is, go look it up again, because it's probably going to change, and keep an eye on it. This is something that I think everybody, it's a civic duty, regardless, Republican, Democrat, Independent, should be paying attention to how these districts are drawn and ultimately where you'll be. Because as you said, right, you're going to be representing these people, hopefully, and the citizens need to know, well, okay, am I part of the 65th or the 64th? Personally, I'm in the 23rd up in Geauga County.
Okay.
It's currently, I think, occupied by Diane Grandel. And Michael, where are you on this map?
I am in the 59th district that, as you can see here, has become even more Republican because we added northwestern Columbiana County. So
Okay.
I'm located right here just south of the 58th, which is Austintown. That 58th is Austintown, Youngstown, Coatesville, looks like Camel and Struthers, and then the 224 stretch of Poland, Boardman, Canfield on south, and then west is Alcatronas. So I am represented by a Republican.
Martha Yoder just sent me, and she ran for state rep previously, and she
Was it
showed
for
me
the
the old.
seat, Nick?
Yeah, it was.
She,
Yeah,
she almost won too. It was
Martha has put in the grunt work for this seat. That's for sure.
And it was different. The shape was a little bit of Ashtabula in the western part of Trumbull, and then Mike Loychik was all along the bottom of Trumbull. So
exactly right. Exactly right.
Cool.
Well, so Martha is now running for Trumbull County Auditor, and she's going to serve well for Trumbull County. So we're looking forward to supporting her and getting her in office as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this brings up a good question. I'll just jump right into it. And I know Michael, he plans stuff out because he's really organized and intelligent. And I just kind of jump into things. So
that's okay.
Don't worry,
apologize.
I warned Nick on.
What's that? You warned Nick? Yeah. So here's the big story, right? The big story is Mike and I both grew up in the Youngstown area. I grew up in Trumbull County. So mad respect. Michael is a Mahoning County dirty politician.
That's right.
Everybody south of that border, just corrupt as far as you can see. But us Trumbull County people, we're hardworking folk that get unfairly lumped in there.
That's fake news. That's fake news, Dane. Come on now.
And, no, I'm kidding. But, the area when we grew up, it was solidly blue. Democrats on the local level, Democrats on the state level, Democrats on the federal level. And now it's changed. You've got Michael Rowley, the state senator. You've got Mike Loychik. You've got, is it Al Catrona? Is that?
Yes, Representative Catrona. Yes.
Representative Catrona. So you've got young Republicans. And here's the other thing that amazes me. And if they're watching, kudos to them. The Mahoning and Trumbull County Republican parties, when I grew up, were like, what are they, right? There were like probably 3 people in their basement with like George Bush signs. Now they're getting events where they're getting 1,000+ attendees. Trumbull County just had Candace Owen, who's a conservative celebrity there. Was it Mahoning County, Michael? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Got to give credit where credit's
due. It was Mahoning County.
It was Mahoning County.
Mahoning. I got to give
okay,
credit here.
They had 1,000+ people there. Trumbull County's been very active. They're constantly having events. You see them going all the time. And not only are they having events, they're having massive turnout. Okay. And so this is a lot, but the area's changed dramatically. Now we've got young Republicans like you running. In your opinion, why has the area changed? What's going on here? Why are you running? What's the bigger story?
Yeah, that's a really loaded question. I'm going to try to take it piece by piece there.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but that's okay. First off, I think, some of the parties or some of the policies that we're seeing being articulated on the left side, our folks are not in alignment with. They don't agree with that. Our folks here, from me growing up and learning about our community and being a part of this great area, we're seeing hardworking people that are not agreeing with Green New Deals and some of the other just defunding the police. I mean, some of these policies that are getting pushed out are somewhat baffling. I don't quite understand how they can how the left or some of the Democrats can be pushing this type of stuff. And I think our folks here in our community, they want to work hard. They want to get a paycheck. They want to take care of their family. They want good roads. And they want a community that allows them to grow and thrive, either in their professional or personal lives. And, I think that's kind of the heart of what we're seeing change is, for years, there's been, this type of idea that it's, you only vote one way. And now I think folks are starting to recognize that some of the policies that are getting pushed don't have our individual interests at heart. And I think folks are getting frustrated, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, Michael started this. It was originally a blog back in 2004, 2008.
2008. I was a loser senior at Ursula High School who liked politics.
And Nick, when he started this blog, it was called MVRed. People mocked him. People laughed at him. They cheered at him. They threw candy at him in the hallway. And they said, the Mahoning Valley will never be red. This is as blue as the ocean is blue, right? And the sky is blue. And now it's changed for all the reasons you said. So, it's crazy to see in my short lifetime how radically the area has shifted. And it's not just one part of the area. It's Trumbull County, it's Mahoning County, it's Columbiana County, it's even Portage. In Ashtabula County has an extremely vibrant and young Republican Party. It's amazing what they've been doing. And that used to be a blue county. So
Portage County too. Portage County too is changed. Yep. Yes.
So maybe take a step back. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, what you do, and why you decided to run, right? Like are you from Trumbull County originally? Give us the background.
Yeah. So I grew up in Howland. I graduated from Howland in 2009. I moved away to Cleveland. I went to John Carroll University. I studied political science up there. Had internships with our senators and our congressmen and worked on presidential campaigns throughout my career. And I knew politics was in my blood. I didn't know at what level or what stage it would surface. I always had an interest in serving the community. And so when I moved back home from John Carroll in 2013, I had recognized that my 4 years away, there wasn't much change. Our roads still looked very similar. In fact, we actually had gotten worse. We lost some population of folk. And there was, it was difficult to come back with the hopes of it maybe improving. And so I wanted to get more involved, and I wasn't interested at all in running at that point. Nick at John Carroll, I would have loved to run, and that passion was there. But as I grew up, I recognized that the community, you don't always have to be an elected official to make a difference in the community. And so I worked a little bit in the county commissioner's office and then moved into the Chamber of Commerce, where I did education and workforce development. And I can go through my line of work as an education and workforce development guy, but I then got moved and promoted into government affairs and economic development when I was there at the chamber, and ultimately ended up leaving the chamber to work for our school districts and our educational institutions. And I advocated on behalf of schools, and ended up moving into VASA Consulting, which has been great and has given me a little bit of flexibility to run the campaign and do the work that still needs done. And so that's kind of my career trajectory at a macro level.
So Howland to Cleveland, John Carroll, it's a great school. Back to Trumbull County. And are you in Howland now? Where do you live currently?
Yeah, so I'm in Howland now. And it's been great.
great community, Helen. It's a nice place.
Love it.
I mean that sincerely. It's a really nice community in the area. Are you married, children? Is there a Mrs. Santucci?
There's not yet.
Okay.
But we are looking at that too, of course. And
no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, you put me on the spot, Dane.
Geez,
you put me on the spot.
Oh man.
My girlfriend and I have gotten more serious, of course. And when we do decide to get married and start a family, I wanted to put my kids through the district that I graduated from, which was Howland. And so being in Howland is a no-brainer. I mean, we're moving forward. We're doing well.
Well, no rush on that. I was just curious.
That's okay. That's
a
all
young
right.
guy in his 30s. He's got it together. In our area, you're a prize target. So
Dane likes to push things like that. He's pushing for me to have a third child.
Well, I don't want to be all alone. I'm like the Brady Bunch over here, and I want somebody to join me. Right? I'm neither here nor there. Well, Michael, I didn't mean to. Michael, I know you've got a bunch of
Dane,
questions.
I'm very impressed. You're going through this spreadsheet right now, point by point, in order. This is unlike. Usually all over. All right,
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
All right, next question. I guess how would you kind of describe yourself in terms of political, your leanings, ideology, things like that? I know oftentimes, depending on the office that somebody's running for, it might matter more or less to vote. Like I think of like a mayor of a city. Now this might surprise you guys. I don't view like that being an ultra partisan type of position because I think you're it's not like you're running on social issues or things like that. Whereas in a state house or state senate or Congress, a lot of issues are coming down. Not all, but a lot of issues could be partisan type votes. And so can you want to share kind of how your political ideology is? Has it evolved over time? I know a lot of people's ideology can evolve over the course of their life. So if you want to just chat about that.
Yeah. So that's another really tough loaded question because it really, depends on the issue. There's some non-negotiables for me. Earlier I mentioned defunding the police. Our police and fire do exceptional work. They should be supported. That should be unequivocal, regardless of party. But here we are discussing things like that. So that I don't know if that's even considered a conservative idea, but that's just a non-negotiable for me. And another situation too, securing our borders. And you might say, oh well, the border is so far away from Warren, Ohio. What difference does Nick Santucci make on that issue? Well, it's a pretty serious issue, and I'll tell you why. I've had lots of conversations about the drug issue in our community with a lot of community organizations here in our area. And, the drug issue affects our workforce. The drug issue affects our population on the streets. And the fact is those drugs are coming from Mexico. They're catching them on the freeways into our communities. So, it's not, and again, in my mind, it's shouldn't be a political topic that there are neighbors that are struggling with drug addictions and they're in our backyards and our community doesn't think like that. And we need to start recognizing, stop putting Band-Aids on problems and actually identify the issue and solve it. And securing the border is essential. Making sure our streets are clean is essential. Making sure we set our standard a little higher as a community. And what I mean by that is, when we look out our window and the roads don't look the best they probably could, and there's trash on the street, I'm guilty of it too. I've driven by some pretty tough roads that, have a lot of trash on the side, and I kind of just put blinders on, and we shouldn't be doing that. We should look out and really try to raise the bar as a community and make it look as nice as possible, because that's how we attract companies into the community and things like that. So I might be going a little long-winded there. I might not have fully answered your question, Michael, but it's really dependent on the issue. As far as ideology, to me, there's a lot of no-brainer issues that get politicized. And I don't think it doesn't have to always be so polarizing in the political climate.
No,
Well,
no.
I think that is music to my ears, Nick. I think that what you're saying, I think you're completely on point. And there are two things that you said that I just want to call out as particularly intelligent. One is when you said about the drugs coming across the border. There's a great book by Sam Kikones. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's Quiones, called Dreamland, where he talks about how the drugs coming in are actually coming in from the open Mexico border. And the police officers that we have, arresting drug dealers will deport them, and then they'll come back in the country and go to a different city. And it's horrible. And it's causing Americans to die, our neighbors to die. So you're absolutely on point with that. So that's a great point. And the other thing you said that I think is really, it's just simple, but it's really smart. It's about having standards, right? Like, clean neighborhoods, clean communities, roads that work, communities that work. These things shouldn't be political. These things shouldn't be partisan. But we shouldn't accept the soft, third worldization of the United States that's been happening over the last 20 or 30 years. We should not accept that. We should have standards. Our streets should be clean. Our families should be healthy. Our neighborhoods should be drug free. These are standards. And I don't know. I like the way you put that. So I appreciate that. I think you're absolutely on point. If I lived in the district, you'd get my vote in more.
I appreciate that. No, that's kind of you. Yeah. And so, to that point, Dane, I had a buddy from Cleveland that came in to visit, had never been to the Mahoning Valley, never been to Howland or Warren or our community. And I said, come on down, we'll go get lunch. I'll take you around District 64, Ohio 64. And I took him through Howland. I showed him where I graduated. I drove down to downtown Warren and took him around Courthouse Square and showed him where I worked at the chamber in my Warren office. And we then drove to Hot Dog Shop. I'm sure you both know the Hot Dog Shop. That's a staple in our community. And we made a left on 422. And the first thing he said was, "Wow, you guys have a lot of trash in your community." And I was a little bit, I was a little bit shocked because he was coming from Cleveland. He wasn't coming from somewhere that is, super, super nice or clean or beautiful mountains. Or Cleveland is great, by the way. I love Cleveland, but you see my point. Cleveland's very industrial, and there's some rough patches there too. And I was a little embarrassed because, and for me personally, I've driven down 422 hundreds of times. And I'd never even acknowledged the trash or looked out the window enough to recognize that. And I'm sure if I'm doing that, there's other folks in our community that are driving down those same roads and not recognizing the trash. We're wearing our blinders and we're not engaged. And so we put together a community cleanup, and me and a couple friends went out there. Senator Ruley was there, and we cleaned up the trash. That wasn't a political stunt. That was just because it looks like crap and we deserve better, and it needs cleaned up. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you. I was just going to say, and another area where we deserve better is, quite frankly, the political leadership of the area. The Democrats have taken that area for advantage for so long. And the result is, when you take an area for advantage, you have low-tier political talent that takes public office, you get corruption, and you get dysfunction, right? And, honestly, take a trip out to Geauga. If you're ever in Chagrin Falls or to the Geauga, anywhere in Geauga, first of all, call me up. But second of all, you'll notice the roads here are all paved. There are no cracks in there. Our weather is really severe. I mean, we live in the snow belt, right? But the roads are smooth. I just came back from Chardon. Everything was fine coming here. And then I go to the Mahoning Valley, and it's like a war zone. And local government matters. And the people you have running things absolutely matters on a local level. And, your state rep or your state senator matters. And the Democrats in the Mahoning Valley have taken the area for advantage for too long. And it makes me really upset and angry.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. When you have the same type of mindset or same type of folks that have been running things for 20 plus years, I very highly doubt that they wake up every day and come to the table with different ideas. I mean, that, things get complacent or things get status quo, and I won't bash anybody. I really won't. But different worldviews. And I think that it's time to change. I think it's time to recognize that we need some different leadership, at least down in Columbus. And what's important to also recognize too, Dane, is that I'm running as a Republican, obviously, and there's a Republican House, there's a Republican Senate, and there's a Republican governor. So I'll have a seat at the table when we're advocating for dollars coming back to our community and important grants and things like that. So it's also important as a community to recognize that too. How do we best position ourselves in a way that we can capitalize or I don't want to say monetize, but put ourselves in a position as a community by sending the right people down to positions of power. And so I have a good feeling about this race. I'm confident we're going to move forward and we're going to run hard. And I really truly believe that we're gonna serve our community and make it better. That's the end game.
I want to piggyback off of Dane's point, because I tend to agree with him. Over the last 3-4 decades, we've just been satisfied with mediocrity, and look what it's left us. You talk about the condition of our roads, the trash, just the overall appearance of our area. There's some improvements being made in parts, but we could do so much more. And Dane mentioned how I think because they had one party rule, they just simply took for granted the voters, and they didn't have to work. They didn't have to earn their votes. They could just run based on their name alone and get reelected to this position. Once they served out so many terms in the state house, they ran for state senate, and it's a constant cycle. They find the next seat and they just keep running. Now they got to work for it, which is encouraging. But this kind of goes into my next question I wanted to ask. So what would be your top 3 issues you would advocate for in Columbus on behalf of the residents of the 64th district? And I'm just going to opine real quick. I feel like over the years, and it could partially be because of our representatives over the years and the fact the Republicans have dominated really the House, the Senate, and the governorship for so long in the state. It just seems as though the state, this is an outsider looking at how things are done, there's too much focus on Columbus. Columbus is growing. It's booming. Their population grew by 15-16% over the past decade. All of Northern Ohio saw their population decline, from Toledo, Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Youngstown declined 10%. And I just feel as though even our own, Republicans as a whole, I feel as though there's too much focus on Columbus. What could we do to help Northwest Ohio grow? What can we do to help Northeast Ohio grow again? So all the love isn't in Columbus. No offense to Columbus. I've been there. It's a great town. They have the university, the Ohio State University, although I'm not a fan. Go Notre Dame. But what can we do or based on this question, what can we do to really start turning the tide locally? So what they're seeing right now over the past 10 years, we could see over the next decade.
That's a really great question, Michael. And so I think, the first step is sending someone like me down to Columbus, because we'll have a seat at the table. And when I worked at the Chamber of Commerce, Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber, we were constantly battling the 3 C's on advocacy efforts, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Those 3 C's constantly got the most attention, the most love, the most financial support, the most on and on and on. And so it wasn't until we began really advocating, showing up down in Columbus, talking to legislators, saying, hey, don't forget about the Mahoning Valley. We deserve some support as well, that we started to really make waves. And, granted, I worked with a great team of folks at the Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber, so I can't take all the credit, but I was involved in a lot of those conversations and going down to Columbus on Columbus drive-ins and rallying our business community and our heavy hitters like President Jim Tressel at YSU and Sam Cavelli over at Cavelli Enterprises. I mean, these guys, their names and their titles matter. And it's not just heavy hitters like that. It's the general small business guy too, or the larger company too. I mean, we need folks of every caliber down in Columbus on events like that saying, hey, we exist, we need support, and we recognize that the 3Cs get a lot of love, but don't forget about the Valley. We want our roads fixed too, and we want to try to attract businesses here to the area to grow and thrive as well. So I think it's really getting involved. And if my campaign and my candidacy can inspire folks to start stepping up and changing the dynamic of the community, then I win. Even if I lose this election, which I don't plan to, but then our area wins overall, because folks should be getting involved. Folks should be getting engaged. We should be cleaning up the streets. We should be setting the standard higher. And I think that it all starts with us. We've allowed our area to look the way it does, and we allowed the feel of our area to exist for as long as it has. And it's time we, shake ourselves up and look ourselves in the mirror and say, look, we've got a ton to offer. We sit in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. There's no reason why we're not growing and thriving and developing, in my opinion.
I respect that.
I agree. One thing I think is ridiculous though about the Youngstown area, and first of all, I think it's genius that you guys are doing community cleanups, because forget the politics of it. It's very good politics, but it's stuff that needs to be done. And I think there are a lot of people that want to volunteer and want to clean up and want to help out the area. And if that vehicle that they volunteer in is the Republican Party, bully for them, because that's great, right? You get they get a place to volunteer, you get the new recruits. It's genius. But one thing that I think is holding the area back, and this is something that you can't change, is that the taxes in Youngstown and Warren and the area are just absolutely absurd. I mean, like Cleveland has bad taxes, but at least you kind of get services for it. That's arguable, but put that aside. Youngstown has one of the highest tax burdens in the entire state of Ohio. And what do you get for that tax burden, right? A failing school system and third world infrastructure. It's just mind-boggling, the tax burden of Mahoning and Trumbull County. Now, as the area becomes more Republican, I think that's starting to change for the better. But the local tax burden is insane. Like Youngstown has like a 2.5%. And Michael is going to know this better than me, but like there's like a ridiculous income
2.75% in Youngstown.
That's insane.
It was previously the highest. I think Euclid now has that honor.
And
I could be wrong on that.
Those scumbag Youngstown City Council men and women who take that money and then like give it away to crooked property developers. And it's just like, why would anybody want to locate a business or live in an area where the tax burden is disproportionately higher to the rest of the area? And it's not like you're getting good schools or you're not getting anything for it. It's just taxes for the sake of taxes. Sorry, that's my mini rant. I'll stop there, Nick.
No. And it jumps back to the empowerment of our voting population. I feel like they need to know that they don't have to accept that. They can vote those folks out and hold those folks accountable. And, like I said, and like we said, for 20 plus years, the system has been run the same way. It's time. I think people are recognizing that it's not acceptable any longer. And I feel your frustration through this podcast. I can feel it, and you feel it. And I think voters here feel it. I feel it. That's why we're in it, to make a difference.
Well, so kudos to you and support to you for being able to step forward. I mean, it takes a lot to run, and you put yourself out there, frankly, to risk. People are crazy these days, and they're targeting politicians and
way too personal anymore.
Way too personal. And the fact that you're running, I think, deserves a lot of support. So, kudos to you. What was it that, maybe along this line, what was it that made you decide, like, I've got to run? Like, I understand why you care about the area. I understand what you want to do. But what was there a moment where you're like, you know what, I'm doing it full speed ahead. I'm going to run for office?
Yeah. I'm not sure if there was like an actual light bulb moment that flicked. I recognized that the seat was going to be open. And I recognized that, somebody like me could step up and serve. And I feel like with my background and experience and working with the chamber and understanding the business community and the workforce needs and the challenges that we have here, I feel like I can really make a difference. And it's not about me. I don't, it's not an ego trip for me. It's really a sincere willingness to try to help. And like I said, we deserve better. And it is frustrating that we've allowed things to go on the way they have for so long. But if I can step in and influence things and move things along, and leave this community better than I found it, then I'm a happy camper. I'm sleeping good at night. And that's what I want to do. And like I said earlier, even if we could raise awareness of issues that are going on in this community, and we don't squeak by with the win, then I still think that's a feather in the cap of the area that we can pivot our ideas or change our perspective and move things forward in a different direction.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No matter what happens, just keep at it, right? Like, time is on your side. That's the nice thing about this area. It's getting more Republican. More and more people are shifting to the right. So if you don't win now, and I think you will win, you have a good shot of winning, there's going to be another election after that, right? And it's just about eating into that margin. Look at somebody like Tim Ryan. He used to win, 99% of the vote. Now he has competitive races. What?
And on the flip side of that was Don Manning in Mahoning County. He ran multiple times and never really was all close. And then all of a sudden, just like that, in 2 years, he went from losing by 15, 16, something like that, and then eking one out by a couple hundred votes.
And Don Manning is a guy, he passed away, but people really loved and respect him at the end of the day.
He did a lot to see that change in Mahoning County in terms of helping to make it red. That seat that he used to run for was Democrat and pretty solidly Democrat, and now it is solidly red in a matter of 4 to 6 years. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we've got good Republican candidates in the House and Senate right now, and I look to be their tag team partner. But to you guys' point, we need elected Republicans at all levels of government right now, from your school boards all the way up until your commissioners. I mean, we need good Republicans stepping up and recognizing that we deserve better. And so Don was really great to work with. I worked really closely with him during my time at the chamber, and he and I had a lot of good laughs. But there was no other elected official I know that was willing to return your calls, even if it was 10 or 11 at night. Don was always working, always interested in making the community better. It's a shame that we lost him. It really is.
Agreed. Everybody I've talked to, I've never met the man personally, had nothing but kind words for him. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to ask some controversial questions, and hopefully, you feel free to demur. The first one's going to be kind of easy, but also extremely important, so answer correctly. There are 2 hot dog shops in the area. One is Jib Jab in Girard, Ohio, and the other is the hot dog shop in Warren, Ohio. Which one is better?
Both are in my district now, so you really are putting me on the spot. Both are good. I have to admit, though, I frequent the Warren one more often. It's just closer to me where I live and where I worked. So I would have lunch appointments there sometimes, or I'd pick it up when I was working downtown Warren in the chamber. But the Warren one is the one I go to normally more often.
Okay. That's fair. That's a good, solid answer.
You probably can't see the beads of sweat dripping from my forehead on that question, but no, Warren is where we go typically. Yeah, but Jib Jab is good.
Yeah, I've been to. I would probably answer it the same way. So, next question: when you're out on the campaign trail, what are the big issues people are bringing up? What are people most concerned about? What are the top topics? What's hot? What are people talking about when you go door to door, when you go to events and you meet the voters?
I think the pulse that I felt is just that frustration that kind of we articulated a little earlier. They're just ready for change. They're excited to see someone young in the race like myself. They're excited to see different ideas coming to the table. And like we kind of covered a little earlier, I generally think people just want to be left alone. They want to work. They want to provide for their families. They want good good roads and affordable housing, and they just want to really enjoy their life. And I think sometimes the intrusiveness of government gets people frustrated and fired up. And I think we're going to see in 2022 that political capital that the Democrats and the left is using is probably going to hurt them.
Okay. This is two serious questions. So Ohio, we're going through a Republican primary now with the governor's race. DeWine, current incumbent, he's facing challenges from Joe Blystone and Jim Renici. I always mispronounce his name, and I
like butchering names, Dave, don't you?
I am horrible. I apologize. It's no
It's
offense
all good.
intended. Do you have a dog in that race or a pony in that race? Do you have an opinion on the governor and the primary?
Yeah, I don't. And the reason I don't is because whoever is elected, I want to work with as their state representative and push bills along and get things through. So I think regardless of who wins the primary, and even with the Senate race too, regardless who wins both of those, we've got to support Republicans. And like I said, at all levels of government, because it's gotten that polarizing and that crazy out there that if we don't, I'm concerned about what our future looks like. So no real skin in the game right there. No real opinion. I think, the Senate side, we've got to make sure we beat Tim Ryan. The governor's side, we got to make sure we beat Nan Whaley. That's as serious as it's got to get.
Those are all excellent. Is Dane with us? Oh, there we go. Hey, let me ask a question, Dane. I wanted to ask. So prior to me working in public accounting in college, I had an internship at the Youngstown Warren Regional Airport. Although there's not commercial airline service there right now, it still serves it's still a critical component of our valley's economy because it is home to the Youngstown Air Reserve Station. So being that your district is home to the airport and the Air Reserve Station, I guess, what are some things that you would like to do? Is there anything that kind of comes to mind to support the viability of that base moving forward? Because as we talked before the episode, it is the largest employer in Trumbull County, and all it takes is a BRAC commission to come along and it could be gone just like that. So I know there's improvements being made, especially I think at the entrance gate. They're doing some work there, but what types of things can a state representative do, being it's a base, like it's a lot of federal funding? What could be done from a state side to ensure that base is there for decades to come?
Yeah, so another good question, Michael. So when I was at the chamber, we worked really closely with Vito Abruzzino, who oversees the EOMAC group, Eastern Ohio Military Affairs Commission. And the EOMAC was housed at the chamber for a while. And James Dignan and I and Vito and Guy Coviello all worked on advocacy for the airbase and also for Camp Ravenna. If you remember that there was a missile defense site that was being considered over at Camp James A. Garfield. Mm-hmm. And we were all in both of those, trying to advocate for more missions to our bases, because again, to your point, BRAC comes in, changes the narrative, and then we're in deep trouble. So losing that air base would hurt us, no doubt. But we want to support the Youngstown Air Reserve Station in whatever they need. More missions, advocating for more missions is one thing. The gate that you were describing, the improvements to the gate, that needed done. We advocated for those dollars. So if the airbase has capital budget requests, I, as a legislator, that would be probably a project on my top priority list that would go to the chair of the finance and the speaker and work with the Senate side to make sure that those types of dollars get funded through and supported. But yeah, that Air Reserve Station is key. Camp Ravenna is key. And I think you also mentioned the airport. So the airport is run by the Western Reserve Port Authority. I've not spoken with anybody there yet on an update on if they're planning to try to get a new airline in there or what. I know that we used to have What was the airline?
Allegiant.
Allegiant. Yes,
Yeah.
I thought it started with an A.
I
was
know
going to
there
say
are
Frontier,
some
but
efforts just from my
yes,
own knowledge of things. So hopefully,
and
at some point
I know
something transpires.
yes, and I know that they were trying, Anthony Trevina and those guys were trying to get a new airline in there, and so whatever support I could offer to them as a state rep, I plan to do that. So, yeah, I think your question's spot on. The air base is key, both of them, and the airport is key as well. So yeah.
So, and real quick, I'm sure Dane has another question. I think would be some opportunities, especially with you as a state representative, to support any efforts on the commercial airline side, because since DeWine took office, there's been kind of a new priority amongst Jobs Ohio and the state to support airports in the state, commercial airports, that is, to prevent there being leakage of, let's say, passengers from our area going to Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is the dominant airport for people locally. I remember from when I worked at the airport, the data showed overwhelmingly a lot of people in our area would go to Pittsburgh. But think of all that money that's going to
You're right.
Pennsylvania. And then in Toledo, the dominant airport up there isn't Toledo Express, which is a smaller airport, still has a couple airlines. It's Detroit Wayne. So there's monies that the state has put in to support commercial service at our airports, which I think is important, because especially in our area, if, with the likes of Lordstown Motors, fingers crossed that can, they get through production and can become a viable operation. And then Altium sells the GM and LG Chem company to produce electric vehicle batteries. If we want to bring in more larger scale companies, airline service for some of them could be critical, and that could be something that's preventing us from kind of taking that next step to bring jobs, which I know Beth, who is a Howland native, asked one of the biggest problems she says that inhibits growth is the lack of jobs. What would you do to encourage employment growth in the area? So I guess I'll tie that into that question from Beth.
Yeah, so another great question. Thanks, Beth. The probably the most important thing is making sure that we're pushing policies that attract businesses to our community. There's no doubt that we have workforce challenges. Companies are offering sign-on bonuses right now. I'm hearing that folks sign on, get the sign-on bonuses, and quit. I also hear that the sign-on bonuses in some areas and some businesses aren't even working. Folks aren't even biting. And so we have to take a serious look at the policies that are being pushed at the state level, and change some of those and encourage folks to get back to work. And I think, COVID, of course, hurt a lot of businesses. COVID changed the dynamic of the workforce undoubtedly. But it's time that we, as elected officials or candidates, start to tell folks it's okay, get back to work. It's important to contribute to society, to pay taxes, to provide for your family, all of those things. And I think it is time. It's time that we start getting back to work and moving forward with our lives. And I think workforce, is a serious challenge. But it starts with making our community attractable. Which jumps back to setting a better standard. It jumps back to our tax base, working with our local elected officials on a tax base that would incentivize companies to want to move here. And not only here, but Ohio in general, because it's if we get new companies in Cleveland or Mahoning County or even Columbiana County, there's a lot of population that commutes. And so we want those businesses coming to Ohio regardless. Ideally, we want them in the Mahoning Valley, but we've got to take have a kind of a come to Jesus moment on what policies are working and what aren't, and how do we really, put ourselves in a position where if a company's looking anywhere throughout the country, we want them coming to the Mahoning Valley and Ohio in general. So that's a great question.
Dane, I know you got one teed up.
No, I was listening and I was thinking about the airports. I'm not a fan of the Pittsburgh airport. I always thought it was kind of bizarre. It's kind of.
I go to Cleveland.
I think you guys up in
Cleveland.
Trumbull probably go to Cleveland. I think more down here in Mahoning. It's heavy. Pittsburgh's investing quite a bit, couple billion into their facility over the next 5 or so years, redoing the terminal and stuff. Not that matters.
Another question, Nick. So this is maybe too too out there, but just go with me. If you get elected, right, there are term limits in the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate. Do you want to stay involved in politics on a local level? Is state rep seat the end of your ambition? Do you want to do something on the county level, state senate, U.S. Congress? Like, what are your goals? You know, you're young still. You're 30 years old. My God, you still have your life ahead of you. What are your goals in 15 years, 10 years, 20 years beyond the state rep seat?
Yeah, that's a nice question too, Dane. I guess I really haven't thought that far. I know at this moment in my life, I'm not really interested in federal politics. Of course, federal politics impacts state politics, but it is so divisive and polarized down in DC that I don't know if I would want to be down there in that situation. But right now, we're focused on House seat. And, you know, I believe God is very purposeful and my path will reveal itself, whatever it is. And so this seat is what I had my heart set on. Serving the community that I grew up in, what would be my honor. And so that's where my head's at. I mean, it's fun to think that way, but I really haven't given it much thought as to where we're going next. I'd like to win this seat. I'd like to serve the area. I'd like to move things forward and make a difference in people's lives. And then, you know, we could pivot and decide where we're going next. But until that happens, I'm not sure.
Okay. That totally makes sense. Yeah. I was just curious if you had other thoughts or that, you know, honestly, Nick, and I'm just going to be honest with you and the people listening. I think you're a guy that genuinely cares about the area. You could tell there are these. So here's the reality about young Republicans, and I'm probably going to piss off half the viewership, but you know, there are a lot of young Republicans who are like 22. They've never paid taxes. They've never had a full-time job. They've never been married. They don't have kids, right? They haven't. They've just started life, and they're 22, and they come into like some area, and they're like, "I'm going to be state rep in 2 years, state senator in 6 years, congressman in 10, and then president," right? And you talk to these kids, and you're like, "Okay, that's great. Maybe pay some bills first, right?" But you, Nick, what I like about you, and again, this is not me trying to suck up to you because you came on the podcast, but you kind of strike me as a good guy, a local guy who just genuinely cares about the area and wants something better for it. And you are a Northeast Ohio guy. You're a Trumbull County guy. You are somebody that again is just, you know, you Howland, right? You love Howland, You love the area. And that's refreshing to me. And you're from that area too. You haven't just parachuted in and you're like, hey, this is open seat, I want to take it. You really want to see the area get better. And you're like, the best way to do it is for me to run. And I think it is the best thing for you to do. And you've got a job, you know, you're established. So I think that's refreshing. I don't know, Michael, have you ever met those types? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I appreciate Nick and his outlook on things. And I agree with you. Clearly, you're focused on the area. I think the most important thing is I think you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yes.
You saw there was issues at hand in Trumbull County and you wanted to do something about it. And you don't have to take ultra controversial stances on issues or be the loudest person to tweet the things just to try to get the most, you know, retweets and all that sort of thing. We have people out there on both sides that do that. I think somebody like you're in it for the right reasons. I kind of equate you to like a Michael Ruley. You know, we talked earlier about how this seat's been redrawn, and in terms just for the audience sake, the way that the district was redrawn, the partisan breakdown is about 54% Democrat, 44% Republican, and about 2.5% or so other. But I say that because I kind of equate you in many ways to Michael Ruley, whose family has owned a successful grocery store business in Austintown and Boardman for decades, and just a likable guy who saw the need for him to run for state senate in a seat that at the time, again, was a Democrat seat. And I'm sure at the time, if you looked at the partisan split, it probably was a leaning Democrat seat. But the fact is, somebody like you don't need to take the controversial stances on things. You're a likable guy. I could tell you would be you could work across party lines when we need to, because we don't know how our congressional representation is going to be. We're going to probably get a better idea here in the next few days how that map's going to look. But we don't know. Are we going to have a Republican representing us? Are we having a Democrat? So on that federal side, we might have to have that working across party lines. And then obviously locally, although we've made inroads as Republicans, there are still a lot of Democrats in office. In Trumbull County, 2 of the 3 county commissioners are Democrats. In Mahoning County, all 3 are Democrats, and a lot of the other seats are Democrat held. So I think it's encouraging to see somebody like you. You're likable, and I think that's why you're going to be successful and ultimately win. And I appreciate that. I think you're in it for the right reasons, and I think people are going to see that. That's
very nice of both of you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it would be, like I said earlier, my honor to serve. So it's kind of you. Your remarks are appreciated. Thank you.
So Nick, here's my advice to you. I've been getting involved with local politics locally, just for the fun of it, right? And we had a fundraiser for JD Vance, who's running for Senate. I think you should support him, but we're not going to push that topic. And one thing that I talk to people, the one thing that comes across is just, if you're running for any office, be real. Okay. And I think people are just desiring, and this is across the political spectrum, right? Just somebody to be honest with them and just to be frank with them and be like, look, I disagree with you on this, but that's how I feel, that this is why I believe it. We'll respectfully disagree. And just to be real, and don't talk in sound bites and the cheesy one-liners and stuff like that. I think people are so frankly tired of that. And I think they're sick of that. And I'm not saying you do. I'm just that's my advice, is that this political environment, people are angry over COVID stuff. Don't underestimate that. It's real. And B, though, they're just tired of the political bullshit, because I think there's this real feeling that the country is falling apart and people are playing politics as Rome burns. So just be honest and direct and keep, if the message is, I want to clean up our area and I want to help our area and we need better roads. If that's the message, that's a winning message. Just say it, I mean, you do. Again, you do. I'm just saying, I don't know. Michael, what do you guys think about that?
I agree. Campaign on those things and just work to get those things done. And there's going to be distractions along the way, but just be kind of laser focused on your priority. And fortunately for you, there are good things happening right now in Trumbull County, albeit just to the west of your district, especially around that Lordstown, and then in Mahoning County around North Jackson.
Sure.
We already talked. I mentioned Lordstown Motors, Altium Cells, TJX with their huge warehouse plant or warehouse facility. Same with Macy's. I mean, we're talking 2, 3, maybe down the road 4,000 jobs, and those aren't just all jobs where you don't necessarily have to have a college degree. There's going to be college graduates, those types of people with that educational background getting hired as well. So there's building blocks taking place, and whether it's in your district, I know there's that big brownfield site that the Port Authority just took over in the south side of Warren, which I believe is, from one of my discussions with probably one of your former coworkers at the chamber, is I think the largest site in the entire state in the Jobs Ohio portfolio. So, I saw the other day that Nucor is looking to build a sheet metal plant, $2 billion one in either Ohio, West Virginia, or Pennsylvania. Well, hello, this is the Steel Valley.
We want them here.
And U.S. Steel is as well looking for building something as well. So things like that. We have the land, we have the capabilities in place. Just again, like I said, be focused and be yourself. And ultimately, as somebody who follows politics, I sometimes get upset with people who you could tell are inauthentic. I'd rather much have somebody who's an authentic politician representing me, even if I don't agree with them 100% of the time.
No, I agree. No, and I appreciate the advice from both of you. Yeah, I mean, I can get a little punchy, that's for sure. I really can't stand the hypocrisies of some of the political parties, but no, I appreciate the advice, and that it means a lot. And yeah, I plan to run on the work I've done in the community and the record that I have, and I hope to serve. I really do.
Yeah, and earlier in the episode in the chat, Gino DeFabio, and I know there are some other questions in the chat. I'm sorry we couldn't get to. I'll try to respond to them if I can, or if Nick, if you want to post episode, kind of follow up with some of these people. I apologize I couldn't get to all of them. But Gino DeFabio, who emceed the Candace Owens event in Mahoning County last week,
Good guy. Gino's a good guy.
Great guy. And he said Nick, with his resume, is probably one of the most prepared candidates to seek office of state rep, especially, I mean, from a local perspective, whether economic development or your educational background. I think that's key. You're not just running just to run. You're running, you have the background to run, and you're going to use those tools, or you could use those tools to benefit our area, which I think people would appreciate.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Gino.
Yes. And Dane, any final questions? I guess one final question I have is because Dane asked about favorite of the 2 hot dog restaurants. What's your favorite Italian restaurant, being that you're a good Italian?
You
I'm
guys,
going to put you on the spot.
Tough.
We'll stick with Trumbull County. I mean, but if you want to morph it down to my way, Mahoning, there's some good ones down here as well.
Yeah, so Leo's is of course a great one. Vernon's, Station Square is one of my favorites too. Lots of really good ones. We go to Jimmy's a lot for groceries. I used to have meetings when I worked at the chamber office downtown Warren or downtown Youngstown. When my office was there, I would have meetings at Jimmy's and eat their gnocchi and cavatelli. Yeah. Lots of really great Italian foods. And there again, too, Michael, another feather in our cap as a community. I mean, where else can you go? That I listed literally five restaurants in a couple seconds. Our community is the best. I sincerely believe that, and we have so much to offer. And I think we deserve better.
Yeah, and those were all in Trumbull County. You could
that was honest too.
Yeah, and I guess one final thought, kind of as I'm kind of going through my notes as you were talking, and in this new kind of economy and climate, in terms of like workforce, and a lot of people are working remote. I think, I don't know if this is a message for you or just something that I've kind of thought of over the years with remote work. We're seeing a lot of younger professionals in different cities that have the ability to remote work. Well, low cost of living here. We have great people, affordable housing. Why can't we market ourselves as being one of those places? Especially think of all the people who currently commute from our area to Cleveland or Pittsburgh or, Akron or something like that. If we could attract people from elsewhere, even outside the region here, because you could raise a family very affordably, in this part of the country, especially in the Mahoning Valley. And we have a lot to offer. And we're seeing some building blocks, and hopefully, again, like I said, Altium, Lordstown Motors, perhaps we have more with that electric vehicle manufacturing and pipeline down the road, and we could really build on things moving forward, which ultimately will benefit all of us.
Agreed 100%.
So Dane, any final thoughts?
No, Nick, thank you. Maybe some medium difficulty questions, not too bad. But thank you seriously for coming on. And I mean what I said. I think you're a good guy, and I really hope you do it. I hope you fight and keep at it, right? And just get your name out there and keep going at it. And I think we need more decent people in politics. I mean, I'd like more conservatives in politics, but failing that, I'd settle for just decent human beings. It seems to be a rarity these days. And I think you're a decent human being. And yeah, so good luck and all the best to you. And it was an honor. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate that. No,
it was my pleasure. I wanted to do it sooner, but with me jumping in and things getting busy, it was a little bit rough catching up on stuff. But I appreciate the opportunity to come on and chat with you guys and get to know you better. And I hope to come on again at some point. I'd love that.
Yeah, we would love that. Encourage everybody, because I know somebody had asked. Actually, real quick, I find it interesting. One of probably the most accurate pollster that we had on our program last year, Rich Barris. His wife's actually been following and been a fan of yours, commenting in the chat tonight. So she had asked earlier, and the only reason I mentioned that is I wanted to encourage people, if they want to go to your website, nicksantucci.com, I believe it is, and you could probably find you on Facebook. And I know you're on Facebook and Twitter. If you just want to share kind of how people could connect with you.
Also, peoplepunditdaily.com.
Yeah, that's perfect. NickSantucci.com. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of those things. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to meet anybody for coffee or set up a Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever. I'm accessible. So my job is to serve the folks that live in my community. So if somebody has a specific question, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'd be happy to answer any questions they might have. So
awesome. Well, thank you
right.
so much again, Nick. Best of luck to you. And post primary is it next March or is it May? Do you
I think May.
May. Okay,
I think
next May prior to your general election. We'd love to have you on again, and we could go further into the issues even some more. But until then, best of luck. And if you need anything from us, let us know, and we'll be happy to support you along the way.
God bless you guys. Thanks.
All right. You as well. Take care, everybody.